Hello, I'm Joe Connolly today with a well-known, successful photographer, and you and I have both seen her work, and now we're going to meet Myrna Suárez, photographer of so many events, and also known as Billy Joel's personal photographer.
Tour photographer, yes.
Tour photographer.
Yes.
How's business?
Business is good. Business is good at the moment. Everything's fast and furious, but it's good.
What business do you say you're in? How do you describe? Are you a fashion photographer, news photographer? What do you call it?
I am a portrait photographer, and I do a lot of concerts photography. So I don't try to buttonhole myself, but I mostly deal in people. I don't do landscapes. I have no aptitude for that. I don't really do, I don't do fashion. Fashion is incorporated into shoots that we do, but shooting models was never that's just not what I did. I started photography pretty late, so I had to choose. I couldn't really be like, oh, I'll try fashion and see if I like it. I didn't really have that kind of option.
What do you mean by pretty late?
Well, my father was a photographer in that he was a bus driver and he was a photographer at night. He drove a bus here on Fifth Avenue, and he had a dark room, and he taught me things, you know, here and there. But we were first-generation immigrants. Photography was never going to be a job. Those weren't jobs that were available to people like us. So, but when I went to school, I really wanted to be in the concert business because I thought it was cool to like go to a show and have an event, and then if you didn't do well, you could start all over again tomorrow, and that appealed to me. And then I got in the concert business and realized that it just wasn't for me.
You get into the music promoting
into music,
business,
yeah.
The music industry. Ah.
Yeah. I got into the music industry, and then I worked at record companies and at management companies for about 8 or 9 years.
No cameras around. None of this beautiful.
No, but I did international marketing for Sony Music, and I was on the road with. I worked with Mariah Carey and Lauryn Hill, and I worked with Billy Joel and Harry Connick and a lot of people. And when you're on the road, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of sitting around waiting. You know, and I thought, you know, I have so much access. I always had my camera with me. I was like, I should start shooting again, and that's how I started. And I started shooting concerts because I had access, and I wasn't limited to shooting 3 songs or 3 minutes, or I could shoot whatever I wanted, and I could shoot backstage, and I could shoot where other people weren't allowed. And that's kind of how it started. And when I left Sony, one of my clients, one of my artists said, well, come over and take some pictures of me for fun, was Wyclef. And when the pictures were finished, it ended up being 3 out of the 4 photos that made the album, and just 1 photo that had been on, you know, these giant photographer shoots that they had used. And that's when I sort of thought, like, well, maybe I can do this as a job, or, you know, something that you get paid to do.
What a story.
It's kind of crazy.
You just kept following your instinct again and again and again, and boom, you were backstage.
I'm just a big believer in, I know what it takes to be an artist, and I understand how hard and how rare it is to become a successful artist. But having worked in marketing at a record company for so long, I also know what they need to sell records. And so I'm very good at making sure that my client is getting what they need to sell, but the artist is not compromising themselves in a way that they feel that is uncomfortable to them.
So you're a friendly photographer. You are not the paparazzi.
No, the paparazzi has a. I think people don't really know what paparazzi is. Paparazzi is like the uninvited photographer that sits across, you know, the street and takes pictures where you don't know.
But you're friend, not foe.
Yes.
Is that what? So therefore, your subjects are comfortable with you.
Yes.
You see.
Yes, they're comfortable with me. I try to make everybody happy when we walk away. I also like beauty, so I am not a big fan of, you know, really weird or dark or being ugly for ugly's sake. That's just not in my nature. I don't see that the same way I don't shoot landscape or still lives. My hands are heavy when it comes to stuff like that, and I can't do it. But I tell, you know, I work with a lot of famous, and I like to say successful people, and I always say, it's my photograph, but it's your face. So we both have to come to an agreement It's a collaboration.
What did you have to learn when you went into business for yourself about being a businesswoman and pricing your product? How did you learn to do that?
That was probably the hardest thing, because I think just generally, and as women, you tend to undercut what you think you're worth and what people will pay. And in this day and age, everyone's first sort of sentence is, I have no budget, but sometimes you don't really realize that maybe their no budget is $20,000. You know, you just, not $4,000. So I actually had a really good mentor when I worked in the record business, and he only did tour budgets, and I sat in the same room with him, and I learned so much about where the money goes, where you can put money, what people will pay for, what they won't, you know, so you might not get it in your creative fee, but you might get it in some other line item that, you know, is a necessity. So I learned a lot about how to put your best foot forward, and my budgets are very clear and concise so people can see this is where my money's going. Okay, and then I kind of get it. I kind of get, you know, what needs to happen for you to get what you like about me. So for me, you know, I tell people, this is, if you like this picture, this is kind of what it takes to do it. You know, I can't just show up sometimes, just me and my camera, and hope for the best. But sometimes that's what I did for a long time. You know, it's just, when you're starting, it's just you. And when you do concert photography, it's just you, and you shoot whatever you like, and you're waiting for the right moment. But there's, you know, there's nobody there to kind of help you. And so.
You just spoke so much wisdom and knowledge. I mean,
I've learned a lot.
What you learned there, you know, you put it on another line of the budget, and even though they're really paying for you, if I'm following you correctly, so others can get ideas, even though they're you believe perhaps that they're paying you for your artistic eye and your shot, but you can't put that on a sheet. So you say travel with tour, and put your
equipment or lighting and things that you need, but that aren't necessarily, people don't want to pay it in a creative fee.
Because otherwise they'll go, whoa, what is this?
What is it? Oh my God, I can't believe it's this much money for you to show up or whatever.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so it's just knowledge. It's not brilliant. It's not really, but I am very, like, well-versed in those kind of things. And I've also gotten to a point where a lot of times when you negotiate with people, which now I'm a big believer that, you know, now you negotiate. Before we used to have to do it in person, which is a lot scarier. Now we do it online. Now we do it on email. And I am a big believer in saying, what is your budget? I'm not going to hold you to it, but is your budget $2,000 or is it $8,000? And then I don't generally say no, but I'll say, okay, here's what I can give you for $2,000. Here's what I can give you for $8,000. Here, you fit in what you need, and then you tell me if that's going to work for you. Because otherwise, a lot of people you'll just spend hours and hours and hours working on crazy budgets, and then they'll come back to you and say, oh, I only had $2,000. And that's just not enough for you to, you know, like, spend a lot of time doing work that's just not going to be profitable.
Yeah, and you'll give something on the low end if you're available that day or something, you know. Or
if I want to do it,
if you
if
want
it's
to do
something,
it. If you're not, I can't do it, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't say I can't do it now.
No.
Now I broker out. It's, you know, when I'm doing some sort of high-end events, I'll bring in other people. I'll be like, well, I myself can't do it, but someone in my team can do it for these numbers. And then I job them out. I get the client, I take care of the billing, I do all those things, and I service other really good people out and stand behind their work.
And you take a commission on that?
Correct.
So you're an employer now?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, employer for our business is freelance, so it's not employees.
But I mean, you're providing people work.
Correct, yes.
Wow.
Scaling.
Instead of asking you the question I've asked lots of photographers, how to take a good picture, I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to ask you, with your eye, what advice do you have to subjects, to people who would like to look better when people take a picture of them?
Oh, okay. I have a whole little pitch that I tell people. You have to kind of, you know, sit up unnaturally straight.
Away?
Like
Which they
if
tell
we're sitting
me, and
here.
I don't do that.
You don't want to sit in the back of the chair, like
Like
the chair's in your lobby. If you're sitting like this,
Oh, that looks awful.
it doesn't look good. But if you sit up right?
Okay, and naturally straight.
Yeah, you kind of lean over a little, give it a little.
Oh my, it's so uncomfortable, right? But it feels better.
Yeah, and then it's just a little bit more, probably looks better, you know. If you don't want to cover yourself, I cover myself with the table. There are just lots of like little tricks. I tell people it was like for women, it was like America's Next Top Model. If you watch that, the way they show the girls how they stand with one foot in front of each other and kind of slightly, their body slightly turned. There's a reason that everyone does that. It's because it looks good. It makes you look thinner. It, you know, like any Hollywood carpet you'll see, the women will walk out, they'll stop, they'll put one foot in front of, you know, the other, and they'll turn and they look at every single camera, and that's what looks good. The other thing I try to tell people is there's so many phones, is that kind of try to do it in order, because you'll see this when you try to take a group photo with a phone. Everyone's looking everywhere. That's because you need to be one person saying, okay, everybody look here, now everybody look here, and everybody look here, because otherwise you've got 4 cameras going and everyone's looking and no one gets a good picture.
That's right. I've seen that. That's why they go like this. And I thought it was an egomaniacal thing, you know? But they're giving each photographer their shot.
That's right. And shot for the wires and for the news, if it has eye contact, it has some sell rate of something like 40% more or something. There's a reason that people do it.
And I've heard people say, hold your chin up or put your chin down.
You
Do you know what I'm referring to?
You want to put your chin up so you see,
up.
you see all, if you're this high, you see all this?
When someone's taking your picture.
But if you go like this, I've erased like half my...
Right.
Right. You want to be a little bit below the eye level of the camera.
This has been one of the most interesting, enjoyable interviews I've ever done, Myrna.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll see your work. Will we see Billy Joel in concert? That's you who took that.
Yes,
and who
I do
else
most
might
of his stuff.
you be behind who we see?
I do a lot of work for John Mellencamp. I work for Christy Brinkley as well. And I have a collection of giant Polaroids in permanent collection up at Lincoln Center at the Eleanor Boonen Theater of just artists. And it's everybody from Robert Redford to Matthew McConaughey.
Of all your photos?
Yeah.
And how long is it there for?
It's there permanently at the moment. We have no plans to take it down, but it's pretty cool. We did a collaboration with them, and we've photographed over 3 years, probably 400 images of, you know, everybody from every kind of Oscar winner to every French movie star to, you know, up and comers. So it's a really cool and something that I'm really proud of, because working on that kind of, that's a different animal, working on that kind of camera, the complete opposite of digital.
The Polaroid,
yeah.
Wow.
You only get one chance.
Wow. I'm so glad to know you. Thanks, Myrna.
Thank you so much.